It's very, very similar in terms of the drive that I've seen with Lucy Fraser and Matt Stevenson. They have a strong emphasis on collaboration with end users as well, and in seeking innovative solutions and enabling people to be able to stay in their homes for longer. And I watched some of their videos earlier, and I saw very much that they also look at using the data to improve people's lives as well. So there's a nice link there. Both Lucy and Matt are from Scotland, but don't worry, I tested them earlier and we can understand what they say. Lucy is the head of innovation at Alban Housing Society in the UK, and Matt Stevenson is the managing director of Carbon Dynamic. They recently partnered on an award-winning program, Fit Homes. So that's why they're going to talk together and collaborate together and tell you more about this program together. Their biography, Lucy believes we're all technology companies now, and I couldn't agree more. She's a proponent of socially led technology innovation. Qualified in urban policy and entrepreneurial development at Glasgow University and MIT, and she's currently seen as an innovative leader in the housing field. Lucy is driven to see a new replicable model of social business. She really wants to see the best in terms of the public and the private sector. So she is co-founder of Fit Home Model, which is award-winning, and really focuses on developing a model of housing incorporating innovative technology using machine learning and predictive analytics, so really important data there, to enable people to remain safely in their homes. Matt envisions a greener and healthier future for the building industry and the end user. Matt has formal training in sculpture, which I find very interesting, focused on architectural form and function. His innovative use of materials was the first glimpse of what the future held for Carbon Dynamic. Matt has assembled a hugely diverse team from a variety of backgrounds, ages and nationalities who are inspired with a shared vision of social and environmental impact. This vision and drive has enabled Carbon Dynamic to establish themselves as pioneers in their industry with a track record of beautiful, sustainable buildings that utilise natural materials in the design. And I encourage you later to go and have a look at his website, because he will be focusing today on the Fit Homes, I believe, but there are so many more other projects that he's been involved with which will blow you away when you have a look. It's really astounding stuff. So we're very pleased to have both of you here from the UK, and I'd like you to tell us more about your organisations and how you leverage digital technologies, please.
So we've got a couple of videos to show you, just in case nobody does understand us, but we're going to speak a bit slower than normal here. Scots have got a reputation of being quite quick. So. A social housing provider developing technology is not usually the standard, and it's something that we got into a bit by accident. So my housing association is based in the north of Scotland in a very rural area. We have a city. We also have areas where we have one property. The hospital can be as much as 4 hours away. And we are looking at how we could support people in their homes until end of life if possible, and they wanted to do so. So when we started looking at what the options were out there, we naively thought we were going to buy something off the shelf and found there was nothing there. So we started looking at what we could develop and what we would need to do that. And it quickly became evident that we couldn't do it without having a collaboration. So the collaboration is Matt at Carbon Dynamic, who's a modular developer of sustainable housing, but also the public sector in the form of NHS Highland. And it's usually at this point that I say I don't partner with the public sector, I partner with one person in the public sector, and I would urge you all, if you're ever going to do it, find that person, because that's the thing that makes the difference to success. So we started looking at what we could do, and the tenants that we had, we've got about 3,500 tenants. We started working with them to see what they needed in their homes, what they wanted to make them feel safe. And we came up with this way forward. So we've got a short Vimeo here that will give you an idea of how we work together with all the professionals and the tenants.
Hopefully. There we go.
That's not it.
Right. Good thing we're talking about technology. No. It should be. That should automatically play when it comes on, is there? Is there any scope to get it to play? Right. If you can find any clever way of making that play from up the back, that would be great. Shall we show the other video in the meantime?
Yeah. I said at the start of this, every time I play this video, it never works. And they were, no, it's definitely going to work.
Well,
So how we did it anyway, we developed a form of crowdsourcing ideas. So we took everybody into one area, and that was health professionals. We had psychologists, we had doctors, we had professionals right across the health sector, and we also had tenants and tenants with disabilities, tenants young and old. And what we did is we crowdsourced what this new idea would look like, both in the terms of the form of the house and what the house needed to do and what it needed to look like and feel like, and also with regard to the technology. So we went through various suggestions about what this technology could or couldn't be. And currently, the main technology out there for people who are vulnerable in their homes is the necklaces and the bracelets, basically the wearables. And what was perfectly obvious when we started speaking to people was that in Scotland, nobody wanted to wear these devices unless they had had an incident and they were scared. There was no such thing as old age. Nobody was old until the end of life, basically, which is fair enough. So we had to find a way of developing something that fitted in with those wants from our tenants, but also enabled us to do what we needed to do from our side. So what we've done is we developed specific adaptations within the homes, which I'm going to let Matt speak about.
Sure. So when we've designed the homes, and it's worth just, since we're talking about technology, explaining that we use building information modelling to capture all of the information about the building. That's why the video that you haven't had the opportunity to see shows us using virtual and augmented reality to engage with all the different stakeholders in the project. So we're engaging with the tenants, putting the end user at the absolute heart of what we do, but also with occupational therapists, care providers, the asset management team from the Housing Association, anyone who can bring value to that discussion, we engage in that process. And through the use of virtual reality, that immersive experience, we can actually put people back into the design once it's complete and say, is this right? What else can we change? So when going through that design process, we're working within constraints of a house which needs to be able to be replicated. It needs to be viable to be rolled out within social housing benchmark rates. So we can't just have a massive footprint. So we have things like a movable wall between the bedroom and the living space, so that if a couple move in, that bedroom wall can just define a standard double bedroom. But if one of the couple moves to a point where they need a hospital-style bed or profiling bed, then that can be set up in the room, but the caring partner will also likely want to stay in the same room. So at that point, our best practice size of bedroom would be 4 meters wide. So the wall between the bedroom and the sitting room can move 1,200 mil out into the sitting room. It can provide us that ideal space so that you can have all the activity spaces. Stuff like the kitchen's able to go from full general needs set up to full wheelchair set up just with a couple of hours of a joiner's time, and it'll be optimized for both of those, so it won't be a sort of a meld of the two different options. It'll be best options for both. We've got a wall within the bedroom which can accommodate all the medical equipment. Other times it can accommodate your socks and your shoes and whatever else, but when you need the medical equipment, that can be housed in there, but in a discreet way. We want these to be aspirational spaces to live in. We want them to feel like homes all the way through, even if somebody's needs get to a point of being very acute. So it's a package of options like that, and the house being part of the solution, but not the full solution.
So the technology then came into it, and how could we put technology in? What was out there, and what could we leverage? And there are systems out there that will do monitoring in houses. They will monitor the environment. You've got Nest systems and Apple systems. But coming from a social housing provider, the cost of those is unaffordable. So we started working with innovation arms of the Scottish Government, and they have a sensoring innovation arm, and they have a data lab that is an innovation lab. And what we have done is worked with them to create a system of sensors, and then with the data lab, we are working with universities around Scotland, developing artificial intelligence to start predicting what changes in behaviour in the houses could predict. So we're not looking at health, we're looking at wellness, and we say that categorically. So from a housing perspective, we're talking about wellness. And you get your baseline in the house of how people behave, and then you start looking at changes in behaviour and what could that possibly mean. So one of the first things that we're looking at is falls prediction. Professor Susan Craw, working out of Aberdeen University, is looking at developing a system that can predict who's likely to have a fall before they have a fall, using artificial intelligence that was actually developed for the offshore oil industry. So that's the first bit we're looking at. All the systems that we are developing are going to sit in the new social business called Sound. The data is owned by the individuals in their own homes, and the personal data can only be accessed by the National Health Service with the permission of the person in the home. So the person in the home is in full control of that data going forward and gets to say where it goes and what it can be used for. So the government in Scotland is working with us on various aspects of this. We have had support, financial support from the Scottish Government, but we've also been able to leverage in private sector support. So from a very short time scale, we've managed to get about £8 million into the project. And our focus is on developing a system that is specifically targeted and developed for the poorer sector of society, looking at health inequality and trying to mitigate differences in that, and looking for partners outside Scotland who have the same vision that we have, so that we can take the technology that we're developing and put it out there en masse at a low cost to people within the social business field. Yeah. So I think that's basically, sorry about the videos.
We were discussing before the session the concept of innovation, and I mentioned that I'd worked on a project recently with a hospital where someone actually came up with the idea of, wouldn't it be good if we didn't actually need a hospital? And I really think hearing Lucy and Matt's work, and talking about keeping people in their homes for longer and making that possible, makes what almost seems like impossible dreams sometimes, the possible. So I really, really commend you on what you're doing there. It's fantastic and aesthetically pleasing as well. I mean, there's one thing to have a home, enriched with data to be able to assist you in your everyday living, and there's another thing to have a beautiful home, which is, I imagine, where Matt really comes into it with the sculptural and the form and the art. So I'm really, really impressed by that. Thank you.